Yo, what's up? It is time for everyone's favorite theological show. At least I think it's everyone's favorite. But we are live with Theological Discussion, and I'm your host, Darcy Apologist, and we're going to be tuning in for an interesting episode dealing with Islam. So, yay, another one of those episodes. Yay! Alright, so today's episode involves us going over a user on YouTube by the name of THERMAL STALK. And I'm going to go ahead and get over on YouTube so we can get to the video for that. In fact, let me see. RC. No, wait. Yeah. Just going to type in my name and see if the Islam video comes up. No, I'm just going to do it like that. Islam. So, a little introduction as to what's going on. Some of y'all are familiar with that I made a video a while back entitled 5 Reasons Why I Won't Convert to Islam, or another way of saying it is why I can't convert to Islam. And in that, he's even asking now when we'll be live, telling him we are live right now, at least via comments, so that way we can let him know. And we're going to go over some of the comments that he left, because note, if y'all haven't seen the video, go check it out. It's in the description below, so that way y'all have the link to go and see it. And he basically made a 3-part response in the comments because his response was lengthy, and apparently YouTube is now limiting how much you can type per post, which to me makes no sense. But anyways, he responded to each point, and while lengthy, I will have to check it out at some point. So we're going to go over them now and get what we can. So I'm right now pulling all of the things in full display, so that way we can take a look at every single one of them at their value, and begin the response. So if you haven't seen the video or want to see these comments so that you yourself can then interact and engage with it, then please head on over to the video at some point when you can. The link for it is again in the description if you want to put it on a save, or if you want to go do any of that. So let's go over this here, as we have the first one being, so I've made a response to this video, but sadly YouTube won't allow me to post it since unfortunately it's too long, so I decided to divide my response in 2 parts so it will be more easy. Now, he goes on to address what I said about the first reason. Then the first reason being that Islam appears like a nationalist religion. Why did I say this? Well, according to Surah 3, Ayah 110, it says, and this is according to the Mustafa al-Kitab translation, "You are the best community ever raised for humanity. You encourage good, forbid evil, and believe in Allah. Had the people of the book believed, it should have been better for them, or it would have been better for them. Some of them are faithful, but most are rebellious." So, right there, we have the Quranic verse, and of course I cite some scholars and some tafsirs that would support and back up my specific interpretation of that, and of whom are highly well-respected ones at that. So, what is his response? Well, nothing more than a paragraph, because he says, that's not exactly true. In Islam, every prophet had a nation throughout places and times, which I assume you are familiar with. Absolutely. I am familiar with the concept that there are different places in Islam where different nations had different prophets of Islam, according to the Quran, according to the Hadith, according to the Islamic sources. The reason Muhammad's nation is known as the best is mainly because Muhammad because Muslims believe him to be the chosen one from God, or in this context, Allah. No, the reason that according to the Quran that Muhammad's nation is the best is according to where it says, you are the best community raised for humanity, and then gives this: you encourage good, forbid evil, and believe in Allah. So that's why they are the best community, because they encourage the good, they forbid evil, and then they believe in Allah. That's the literal reason from directly the Quran itself why these groups are the best community. It's not because they simply believe that Muhammad is the chosen one from God, or in the context Allah. It goes on to say another explanation. Okay, so the first one wasn't enough, but he says another explanation, which hasn't been settled, I guess, he's just offering explanations, would be him being the most beloved to Allah, which in Arabic is Habibullah. So logically speaking, he is the most beloved one to Allah, so Allah might consider his followers to be beloved to him as well. Except again, the only time you get that is when it talks about and believe in Allah. But what are the two reasons before that phrase? You encourage good and you forbid evil. That's according to what is in the text of the Quran. So don't blame me, blame what the Quran states as being the reason. In fact, let's see here, we have the Halali Khan translation of the Quran, which has hadith and paraphrase and all that, and of course extensive footnotes. So we're going to see what these two scholars that translated the Quran and offer the detailed explanation. I'll read it without the brackets first of all, and then we're going to read it with the brackets, because then we're going to read the footnotes, okay? Because I've already stated in the video what the explanation of Maududi is. That is that this means the Muslims have been appointed to that office of them being the best community because they possess those moral qualities which are essential for just leadership. And these are to establish virtue and to eradicate evil practically, and believe that there is no God other than Allah, to put into practice the implication of this belief. And then there is the Study Quran, which provides the interpretations of Al-Razi and Ibn Kathir. And so, mostly going with Ibn Kathir, the Study Quran says, quote, best community may also refer to those who are the best people towards other people, which is the domain of enjoining right and forbidding wrong. It explains why action is placed before faith in this verse. So, there we go. And then Ibn Kathir himself even mentions the thing about Al-Bukhari writing that Abu Hurairah commented on the ayah saying that you Muslims are the best nation for the people, you bring them tied in chains on their necks, captured them in war, and they later embrace Islam. The meaning of the ayah is that the Ummah of Muhammad, the community of Muhammad, is the most righteous and beneficial nation for mankind. Hence Allah's description of them: you enjoin al-maruf and forbid al-munkar and believe in Allah. And even cites like Al-Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, Al-Hakim, and going all the way saying that Hakim bin Mu'ayya bin Haida narrated that his father said that the messenger of Allah, Muhammad, said, you are the final of 70 nations, you are the best and most honored among them to Allah. So the nation is the best, which is again the definition of what nationalism is. And we got a Thermal Stalk in the live chat, so thanks for stopping by and tuning in, man. Now I need an allergy pill because it's getting that point where allergies are starting to risk getting me drainage. So those are the three scholars or the three things that I went to, but here's another one that offers brackets, and this is one that's even been recommended by what's his name, Zakir Naik, as he tries to explain the different Quran translations, and said this is a good one for Muslims because Muslims would be familiar and be able to make distinctions on what is the Quran and what's commentary. Because he does, and if you do look at the Hilali column one, the one thing you'll notice is a lot of brackets and a lot of Arabic transliteration. So that does kind of make it hard to distinguish which is part of the actual, Quran and which is just commentary or footnote. So here's from, we're going to just read it without any brackets or any parentheses. Alright, so it says, you are the best of peoples ever raised up for mankind. You enjoin and forbid, and it says so that they put the Arabic in for the other ones. You enjoin good, al-maruf, and forbid evil, al-munkar, and you believe in Allah. And the people of the scripture believed it would have been better for them. Among them are some of who have faith, but most of them are al-fasikun. I don't believe. According to the parentheses there, that means disobedient to Allah and rebellious against Allah's command. So let's go ahead and then read that back with the whole brackets and everything. So it says, you, true believers in Islamic monotheism and real followers of Prophet Muhammad and his Sunnah, are the best of peoples ever raised up for mankind. You enjoin al-maruf, i.e., Islamic monotheism and all that Islam has ordained, and forbid al-munkar, which is polytheism, disbelief, and all that Islam has forbidden. And you believe in Allah. Now, before we continue, there's a footnote that ends right there. So let's read the footnote, which is, a very lengthy one. Let me see. Okay, it doesn't continue on to another page, so we're good. It says, narrated Abu Hurairah, the verse, you, true believers in Islamic monotheism and real followers of Prophet Muhammad and his Sunnah, are the best of peoples ever raised up for mankind, means the best of the people for the people, as you bring them with chains on their necks till they embrace Islam, and thereby save them from the eternal punishment in the hellfire and make them enter paradise in the hereafter, which is according to this thing here, narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari, volume 6, hadith number 80. And then it goes on to show in chapter 144, which is in Sahih Bukhari, volume 4, hadith number 254, from Abu Hurairah. It said that Muhammad, or the Prophet, said, Allah wonders at those people who will enter paradise in chains. So another one there. And then there's apparently a footnote within a footnote or something. I don't know what that. Okay, no, it's a footnote that's about the hadith we just read. It says, the people referred to here may be the prisoners of war who were captured and chained by the Muslims, and their imprisonment was the cause of their conversion to Islam. So it is as if their chains were the means of winning paradise. So the Muslims, or the converts to Islam, were prisoners of war, because this is not just from Hilali Khan here. This was also according to what was cited by Ibn Kathir, who again is getting the information in the hadith that he's interpreting this from Sahih Bukhari, from apparently two places. I just thought that one in volume 6 was the only one about this, but apparently I guess there's one in volume 4. Alright, speaking of which, I still need to get more into my studies on the hadith ever since I got the book from Ibn Salah. And had the people of the scripture, which is the Jews and Christians, believed it would have been better for them, among them are some who have faith, but most of them are al-fasikun, which is those who are disobedient to Allah and rebellious against Allah's command. So based on what we just read there from the translation with the brackets and then the footnotes provided by the hadith that was pointed out, then I think this would be quite interesting to show that, again, it defines what it means to be a nationalist in some sense. In fact, let me just go ahead and define what nationalism is. Merriam-Webster: it is a loyalty or devotion to a nation, especially a sense of national conscience, exalting one nation above all others, and placing primary emphasis on promotion of its cultures and interests as opposed to those of other nations or supranational groups. So, that's what that means concerning the loyalty and devotion to a nation, because it's under the same thing here under Merriam-Webster. Says, especially a sense of national consciousness, exalting one nation, the Islamic nation, or the Islamic view, or the Islamic beliefs, above all others, and placing primary emphasis on promotion of its culture and interests as opposed to those of other nations. So it's not just simply the belief, but it's also what Islam forbids. So in other words, if Islam condemns eating, certain foods that are considered haram, say like pork, for example, then according to them, the people are the best community or nation for people, because one of them is that they enjoin al-maruf, they enjoy good, and forbid al-munkar, evil, which includes, according to what the parentheses was there, polytheism, disbelief in all that Islam has forbidden, including that of pork. And this is going to go for other things as well, because there's more than just that and disbelief that is forbidden in Islam. So it's promoting not just beliefs, but practicings, cultures, dress codes, all these kinds of things. That is what it means, by definition, to be a nationalist. Now, again, what would be a more better response to that is not just to simply say it's not a nationalist religion, but to try to then explain why you don't think that that's a bad thing, because some people don't deny this, but instead we'll try to point out the benefits of Islam and the benefits that this is why Islam is indeed the best religion or the best worldview that needs to be adopted, not just concerning someone's own personal beliefs, but the entire community or the entire country for that matter. So that's why I give some of those people who do make that argument some respect. Next, he then goes over the scientific errors in the Quran, which is, of course, in minute 5 and 27 seconds in. So he says, I was hoping you were going to present new apparent errors in the Quran, but sadly, that's not the case. Also, no, there aren't any scientific miracles in the Quran either. What? Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That is actually pretty awesome. This is the first time I've ever seen what I assume is a Muslim say and believe that their quote. This is the quote from him, people. Quote: there aren't any scientific miracles in the Quran either. That's just a thing created by layman Muslims. Okay, yeah. Okay, I can slightly get down with this. So, partially, this is just partially, I'm slightly satisfied with this. Because at least that can be admitted that there is indeed no scientific miracles in the Quran. And he, of course, then says, I recommend watching the video by Ira, which I did earlier. It just goes to, let me see, I think from what I'm reading on the timestamp of the link, 19 minutes and 6 seconds in. And it's a video from what's his name? Hamza Sortsis. In fact, we're going to just play the audio of a little bit of it for y'all. So let me go ahead and, it took us to there and got us away from the video. Let me get us back on track, and then we'll get the thing started again. So let me, great, now it's just like pausing up. So let me, okay, for some reason now it's not letting me pull up full on the comments. Okay, there we go. Now we can get back to where we were. Alright, so let me actually get back to where that one video was and play the clip. Alright, we're gonna go 31. Okay, no, it was 31 minutes, and we're just gonna go to 45 into it, since that's where it was. Alright, so here's what Hamza has to say, and this is from his lecture called Understanding Science and the Quran. So let's hear what he has to say.
Interesting word. Obviously has levels of meaning.
So the word, by the way, that he's pulling up on the screen is Yaspahuna, from Surah 21, Ayah 33, which says, "And it is He who created the night and the day, and his head's in one part of the thing, and the moon, all heavenly bodies in orbit are," again, it's blocked by his head a bit. So, yeah, so that's the word that is being utilized, is Yaspahuna. So let's hear what he has to say.
One of the meanings is that it's literally swimming. So a 7th century desert Arab could be looking into the ocean of space, and it looks at the objects of space, like the moon and the sun and whatever the case may be, that they're moving. They're swimming in the ocean of space. This is not a miracle, it's naked eye stuff. But remember, the purpose of Quranic verses is when you reflect on things, regardless of your limited understanding, regardless of what level of understanding you have, you're always going to conclude there is a wisdom and a power behind the universe, and therefore God deserves worship. That's the point. But interesting.
Okay, this is actually interesting here. So, again, what he's essentially saying is that the Quran, at least from what I'm seeing it, is that the Quran does not contain scientific language at times, but rather what is utilizing is the perspective of the people and is utilizing that to see how they would understand things. Now, I'm still not convinced of this, but I'm slightly understanding of it, because here's the main issue, is that, again, this would work most certainly if this was the authorship of human beings, because that's what we have with the Bible. It was authored by human beings, but inspired by God, whereas the Quran is not just inspired by God, but is authored by God. Allah wrote the Quran. He wrote it on the eternal tablets which are preserved in heaven, as is stated within the preservation of Surah 85, Ayah 21 to 22. So, if that's the case, why would God utilize that language when trying to address this to his people? But of course, again, you could use the argument that he is using that to, in the same way, break things down to a basic understanding for the Muslims. So again, I can be sympathetic and am slightly convinced that this would then be a reason that could be solved for me from the perspective of what was mentioned by Thermal Stalk. So Thermal Stalk has actually been able to demonstrate something here. And in fact, is actually even much more better than what one person commented. A person by the name of the Nimentron, when he gets to comment on the video where I'm talking about the science in the Quran, or the supposed science thereof, all he says is the following, quote, "In the Quran, Allah mentioned that arrogant idiots will always try to prove the work of Allah wrong, even though evidences will be laid in front of their eyes. But Satan will blind their eyes. As I can see, you can't even see your own quotation." Wait a minute, huh? As you can see, you see my house, you stalking me, boy? I can't even see my own quotation. Let me read the quotation that you gave. Oh, that sign there meant that my battery was about to run out. I forgot to keep the thing plugged in for the laptop. I'm reading the quotation. Then clothe the bones with flesh. That's what you just typed. In my culture, people say little knowledge people are the most dangerous to humankind because they always think of themselves over the head. First command of Allah to Muslims to read to gain knowledge of the creation of Allah, to understand the work of Allah. Your knowledge is based on YouTube, mostly from the evil propaganda against Islam. No, concerning my knowledge on Islam, it comes from direct Islamic sources. So the Hadith, it comes from the Quran, and then even from Islamic scholarship, which I contain and try to buy up books on Islam. And then, of course, recently the only thing is not YouTube, but academic papers or books that are entitled to dealing with Islam on a scholarly academic level, because honestly I'm sick and tired of the usual emotional pleas against Islam, such as, oh, Aisha was 9, therefore Islam is false, or something along those lines. So that's why I have looked into some articles by Garrett Quinn, some of the stuff that has been in Ibn Waraq's works, such as Alphonse Minana, Smith Lewis, Shub, Larcher. So like there's always these different scholars that I'm looking into that offer things. Noldeki being another one. And then of course recently Dan Brubaker with his new book. So no, it's not about YouTube. But anyways, that's just this one guy who tries to do that whole thing. But as far as what Thermal Stalk is saying, I can actually get down with that. I am kind of actually refreshed because whenever, especially the same thing like with what was said by Marshall at one point, like, and he's still saying that now because he's in the live chat, where he says that it contains scientific statements which can be examined by science. Using this science miracles argument to prove the Quran's truthfulness is a weak argument. But that's what you're essentially saying, is that it contains scientific statements, when in reality it doesn't. And that's what that means to be a scientific miracle in the Quran, is that it contains scientific statements. And we already heard from Hamza that that's not the case. And then when we read more of what Thermal Stalk says, quote, as far as embryology, which is the example I give in the video, Maududi is actually correct in this one. So let's go read what I cited from Maududi on the thing. By the way, when I talk about the embryology, I'm talking about where I believe that it's unscientific, because it's saying that the developed a drop of clinging clot of blood, then developed the clot a lump of flesh, then the lump into bones, then clothed the bones with flesh, when in reality it's that they don't have then and a step process, that they both form simultaneously at the same time. So there is no step process in the formation of the bones or the flesh within embryology. And he seems to notice that, and that's what Maududi says, because then Maududi in his tafsir says, this refers to the different stages of development of the child in the womb of its mother. This description is based on observation, not on scientific research, and there was no need for it, for the purpose for which reference to this had been made here. To which then Thermal Stalk says, even if the Quran is believed to be God's direct word, why can't he author a book which is knowledge based on observation of the humans, I would assume, concerning that observation. The Quran is, after all, a book that is for all places and times. So it's rational to think Allah made it easy for everyone to understand, even people who have no knowledge of embryology. Okay, so this is something that I can actually get beside a little bit, but I'm still not fully convinced of it. But it's a step in the right direction compared to what other Muslim apologists have tried to use. Now, we're going to take a look at this article that he then links, because I do mention 3 other videos. my response to a Muslim named Q9 Dawa who left YouTube, from what I gather, since I tried to see what he thought. He said he was going to respond to the video, but then he ended up deleting his channel because now it's nowhere to be found. And when I click on the link that is in the original to try to get back to that video, it says that the video has been deleted, which is usually a sign of either he deleted it, or if I can't even find the channel like I can anymore, then it means that he's just altogether left YouTube. So you have then the other video on embryology by a man by the name of the Rationalizer, and then Islam and the whale that carries the earth on its back. So concerning that, we're going to take a look at this article that then deals with what a Muslim on the what's this blog called? AZ Blog Talk, refuting lies against Islam one by one. So in this blog, it says why the masked Arab is masked falsehood makes one bashful. Does the Quran teach the earth was created on a giant well? Well, that explains the brackets or the parentheses here saying English isn't my first language, so I might make grammatical mistakes. And hold on a second, I'm getting a phone call, so I'll be right back. Alright, and we are back. Hold up. Apparently Marshall put something. Okay, yeah, I've already seen this argument before. The Keith Moore, yeah, he's a professor of embryology, and I have heard what he said regarding embryology, and he's been critiqued by several of his embryology colleagues. In fact, was even criticized during his lifetime, saying, Moore, this is wrong, you should know this. And they started to question why he said this and thought he was just a sympathizer towards Islam as a result. So yeah, he was making the statements he made, and he was met with criticism by other embryologists and later embryologists regarding his statement. So Keith Moore was somebody that was making his statements about embryology and then was met with criticism. Alright, so we're actually going to have to pick this up on another time, and so we're just going to have to make this one part 1, because I've just been informed of that there's a party going on with my nephew, or there's a birthday party. He turns 1 year old today, by the way. So happy birthday to my nephew. I'm not going to say the name just in case don't give any ways of people trying to find that. and get involved, anything like that. So, but my nephew is the youngest nephew is turning 1 year old and is having a birthday party. So I'm gonna go and spend some time. So we've only got time just for that. We'll respond to then the scientific miracles of the or the latter part of the scientific miracle with the article on another episode, as well as deal with the other two comments. So sorry that this is going to have to be a shortened episode for today. Really am sorry about that, folks. So, but we'll get to work on it another time. So, just gonna let y'all off with some nice soothing music, and we'll pick up another time. Again, this is not the first time that we've had to impromptu something because of certain circumstances. So I hope y'all are understanding about that. That, again, as I said before, family matters, they come first over all this sort of stuff. But we will, like we've done with praise before, praise I am that YouTuber. We will pick up our responses on what is said in another episode of Theological Discussion. So, that being said, I thank Thermal Stalk for taking the time to reply and giving us some of these arguments. So, at least he's actually gotten somewhere far and good enough with me at one point. So, thank you, and till then, this has been RC Apologist. Take care.